Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by COOP Ale Works. We're recording this on Thursday, January 5th, which means the Thunder just got back from Orlando. I was about to say Boston. We played Boston here the day before that, got back from Orlando. That was a doozy of a home road back-to-back. As you can tell, brain's still a little fried trying to recalibrate to everything that just happened. So we got our podcast because it's been a wild last 48 hours, and particularly that brief stint in Orlando where we landed from Oklahoma City into Orlando at 3 o'clock in the morning. What time did you end up actually going to bed, Gallo?
Sometime after 4.
Yeah.
Probably. You know, we got to drive from the airport to the hotel, and then we get the bags and get kind of settled and checked in. And yeah, you know, so you're looking at just a handful of hours of sleep basically. And then these guys, I don't know how they did it to turn around and play. Paris, my big question is, how many cups of coffee did you drink in basically the 48 hours before the Boston game and now?
It was a solid 2.5. I think I had a cup and didn't finish it.
Wow.
But
okay. I was thinking you were going to say 2.5 per day.
No. So I try to stick to one per day, but the beauty of the Orlando hotel is that there's a Starbucks right downstairs. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did as soon as I got up, go downstairs and get my caffeine injection so that I can survive the day.
Well, last night in Amway Center was the first time that I've ever seen Paris bail out on a cup of coffee midway through. Not the finest work
it wasn't
at the arena coffee there, so I felt very sad for you, Paris.
It's okay, and it's also I just had dinner, and it was just like it's just the coffee's not working for me right now. Although
the 6:30 p.m. coffee is a dangerous one.
That's a decision that you need to go headfirst into, and I was not really that confident about it. But in Amway Center, it was freezing cold in there, and so I really just wanted the coffee to keep my hands warm.
It was just the heat. Okay.
And then once it lost its luster, I had to have you take it away from me.
Well, we got all the energy that we needed from Stuff the Magic Dragon, the mascot for the Orlando Magic, who did a crazy breakdowns in the court and then came over and kind of harassed Paris and I for a little while over at our seats.
Rumble will have my back on this. I had your back, Rumble. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Stuff came over. And I have my notepad open. Yeah. I've got my laptop open. He came over. He saw the mess that was happening over here. And he pointed to my notepad. And he made like a scribble sign with his hand, and he wanted to know where the pen was. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know where a pen is.
Yeah, you're not just getting a pen.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help you. No pen here. Yeah. But he was like adamant and really wanted a pen. And I was like, okay, if I have any chance of watching this game, I really got to help him with the pen.
This is in the middle of the game,
literally.
By the way.
Action is happening on the floor. So I was like, all right, I'll give you a pen, man. And so I hand him a pen. And then he starts writing on my notepad, the one little sliver of daylight on this notepad, and he writes Rumble and underlines it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's nice. Yeah.
But then he starts shaking his head. He's like, nope. And then he you know how he's got the things that come out of his nose? Yeah, he made those things pop out at me. I was like, nope.
Don't you dare flare your nostrils at Rumble.
That's right. Rumble's the best.
Yeah, come on, Stuff.
Come on.
That was not cool. However, the other people that were sitting close to us at our seats there, we had a lot of action going on.
There was a lot going on.
The people right in front of us was this father-son duo.
Yeah, this was cool.
Yeah, who were from Melbourne, Australia. And the 10-year-old son, Charlie, was turning 10 actually a week from yesterday, so in 6 days now. And for his 10th birthday, he got this trip from Melbourne, Australia to Florida. They went to Legoland, and then they saw that the Thunder was playing at Orlando that week while they were there. They're massive Thunder fans, massive Josh Giddey fans, of course, being from his same hometown in Melbourne. So they were sitting right in front of us. We got to chat with them and talk with them. They had a big Australian flag that they were waving right in front of us. So that was really cool.
That was so special because I sat down and I saw the Josh Giddey jersey because they were sitting literally right in front of us. Our seats at the Amway Center were right behind the basket. And so this was the literal next human being in front of us was this father-son duo. I remember seeing the Josh Giddey jersey and I'm like, well, of course OKC fans travel, but...
Oh, yeah, and there's tons in Orlando, but this was different.
This was special. Yeah. And what a fun 10th birthday, right?
Oh, gosh, can you
Legoland?
imagine?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
how about a 14-hour flight or whatever it was?
Casual. Yeah, man, that might have been give or take, but you make up for it with the incredible trip to see Josh Giddey play. Yeah. In person. That's 10 out of 10. And they got a shout out on the Bally Sports Oklahoma broadcast thanks to our very own Nick Gallo. There we go. Got a chance to be on TV. Well, it was certainly a action-packed trip to Orlando. the Thunder didn't necessarily play to the way that they wanted to play, fell short in that game to the Magic. But like we mentioned, it was a tough back-to-back. The night before, they went up against the number one team in the Eastern Conference, really number one team in the league right now, the Boston Celtics, and absolutely handled business here inside of Paycom Center, and then had to go to Orlando. And just out of the gates, you kind of tell that the Magic were taking the reins of that game.
Yeah, the players will never admit this, and they've never admitted over the course of the 15 years that we've been here, but that was a schedule loss. I mean, the Thunder coming in, losing the hour going east, a 2.5 hour flight. As we talked about, you're getting settled into the hotel sometime around 4 a.m. Meanwhile, the Orlando Magic hadn't played since Friday, December 30th.
Right.
So the last time they played was last year. And it's just tons of time to rest, recuperate, and just gear up for this game. Kind of a pride game too, where this is a Magic team that lost to the Thunder here in OKC, and a team that did not is kind of in the same like sphere as OKC, but has not had the same type of success that the Thunder has had over the last decade and a half. And when you're kind of in that same window of teams in terms of that development arc, there's a little bit of juice there, and it kind of can create these little rivalry games. You could tell the Magic just from the very outset really, really wanted that game. Yeah,
just from the force that they played with. I'm thinking of a guy like Paolo Banchero, who was just downhill, full head of steam, really looking for his opportunities. And a lot of guys really got involved in the action for the Magic. The Thunder ultimately fell short in that one, but they had a day off today here in Oklahoma City. They turn around and they're going to play the Wizards here tomorrow. So this Eastern Conference stretch that the Thunder is in right now, it's stacked, it's heavy, but this team is looking to take the lessons from all of those games and apply them forward. We've got to talk about this Boston game.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, stay around because we're going to take a short break here, but we've got to break down everything that you might have missed in that incredible win against the Boston Celtics the night before the team left for Orlando. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
COOP Ale Works is the proud sponsor of Thunder Basketball Universe. Brewers of the fan favorites F5 IPA and 99-calorie Ice Chest IPA. You'll find those and many more Coop beers at retailers across Oklahoma. Learn more at CoopAleWorks.com.
All right, we've hinted at it. We've talked about it. You might have heard about it. It certainly made headlines. It was a big deal, not just here in Oklahoma City, but I have to imagine just in the NBA as a whole. The Thunder taking on the Boston Celtics. This was a couple of days ago, and the Thunder obviously going up against a more veteran Boston team, a bigger Boston team, the number one team in the NBA, lead the NBA in scoring. I mean, the superlatives just keep going on and on and on. Add on top of that, the Thunder's playing without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was a late scratch due to a non-COVID illness. None of those things seemed to matter at all once the game got started, because the Thunder not only took the reins from the outset, but just kept their foot pedal to the metal for the entirety of the contest. And by the end of the game, ended up posting 150 points, which is a franchise record.
Yeah, the most that the Thunder has scored since arriving in OKC. That record, pretty impressive, especially given the fact that I think 5 different guys scored at least 20 points. You had 8 different players with at least 3 assists in that game. Everybody got involved in the rebounding and the steals. The effort was really predicated on excellent defensive fundamentals from the outset of the game. You could tell kind of at that first timeout, about midway through the first quarter, that Boston had tried to throw a big punch. And the game was about tied at that point. And the Thunder, as they were walking back to their huddle, you could see the confidence on their faces. It was like, okay, like we took it. We're good. Like we're still here. We're still standing. And I think Boston, in a way, kind of recoiled back from that. Like it was not expecting to have thrown that punch and have it be kind of like brushed to the side. And I think maybe that catching Boston off guard is what allowed the Thunder to just really start rolling downhill in an extremely impressive performance all the way around.
Yeah, and this Thunder team wants to be a team that just isn't influenced by circumstances whatsoever. Playing without Shai, as a matter of fact, kind of juice this team a little bit, knowing that they're going to have to really bring it and it's going to have to be a collective unit. It's exactly what happened. Like you mentioned, 5 guys with 20 or more points. They scored 40 points in more than 40 points in 2 quarters. They had 2 40-point quarters. One of them, they scored 48 points, which is the most in a single quarter in OKC history. The offense was firing on all cylinders. But Gallo, like you mentioned, the energy that they got in this game came from the defensive end. And there's one play in particular that I know that stood out to me. I'm certain stood out to you as well. And it was Trey Mann. And Sam Hauser had the ball at around midcourt. It was obvious he had tried to get the ball away at this point. But Trey Mann, just like a shark in the water, when you know a guy doesn't want the ball, and Trey is just pestering him at half court, pestering him, and stole the ball from him and finished layup on the other end. And that play right there told me everything that I needed to know about how this team entered this game mentally. And it was, we're not letting up, we're not giving you anything easy, and we're gonna play our style, and we're gonna bring it to you.
You know, it's amazing just over the course of time watching players. They, especially young guys who are 24 years old, you can see whether they're entering a game like leaning in or leaning back and, worried about making mistakes or worried about, like the game plan or, making sure that they're executing every single thing perfectly. In that matchup against Sam Hauser, Trey Mann was clearly leaning forward and deciding, like, I am the aggressor in this one. I know that I am the better player in this situation where I can just go get the ball from him, like a true recognition of strength and weaknesses and his own strength and weaknesses, and just the dogged mentality of like, I'm going to be the aggressor here, and I'm not going to worry about make sure that I don't give up a 3. Like, no, I'm just going to go get the ball. And he said that he and Kenrich Williams talk about guys that they have in those matchups. And you're going to see players at the 4 spot or, shift up to a guard spot like a Sam Hauser who are really catch and shoot 3-point guys that don't want to put the ball in the deck.
Exactly.
And to be able to recognize those situations and know when to go attack somebody. I think the perfect example happened last year, and this was Lou Dort on Furkan Korkmaz in a very similar situation. And Royce Young did an entire episode of The Path about that one play that happened right out at midcourt. So these are catalyst moments for the Thunder. Yeah,
and to your point, the whole idea that Trey and Kenrich are out there just kind of like bantering about, who doesn't want the ball? He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. And then on top of that, Trey told, was it Kenrich or Aaron, one of the guys, to deny Malcolm Brogdon. So he told him outright, don't let Brogdon get the ball. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it. All of that happened, and that led to the Trey Mann steal, the Trey Mann finish on the other end, and speaks to the force that this team was playing with, and how locked in they were. Not just like in the four lines of the court, but also just like mentally and on the sidelines and knowing and thinking 2 steps ahead. And another just kind of example of just the force that this team was playing with. There were a lot of dunks by the Thunder in this game. Not just by J-Dub, who leads the team in dunks. I think he had like 3 or 4.
He had 4 in that game. Yeah.
He had 4. But one Isaiah Joe, who also had himself a poster in this game. And it made me so happy to see this for Isaiah Joe, a guy who leads the team in 3-point percentage. He's top 10 in the league in 3-point percentage. He has one of the highest 3-point attempt rates in the league. And he got himself a dunk. He got himself a poster.
I have to shout out our friend of the pod, Matt Pinto, for an incredible call on this dunk.
Oh, wow.
He called it a sinister slam.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know, maybe I'm overinterpreting this, but Joe crossed over and actually transferred the ball to his left hand and slammed it and got a poster. So, of course, it was sinister in like the normal English lexicon of the word, but it was also sinistra with his left hand, which is the root word means left in I think Greek.
Do we think Matt Pinto thought all of that through?
I don't know, but I thought that was very. If he did, that was
that's
very
next
impressive.
Level. Yeah,
it was Greek or Latin. I can't remember which one. But anyway, I was like, dang, that was an amazing live call.
That's
to be able to
awesome.
just pull that out in the moment. That was really cool.
What's the word? Sinistra?
Sinistra.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sinistra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're filing that one
Yeah.
away. Mr. Matt Pinto, that is very, very impressive. And Nick Gallo caught on it.
I got you,
So
buddy.
there you go. There you go. But if we're going to talk Isaiah Joe, we got to talk Isaiah Joe and his recent stretch of games here. In that Boston game, he had 21 points. The following game, he had 13 points against Orlando. 11 of those points came in the third quarter during a stretch. Okay, so in this Orlando game, the Thunder was down for the majority of the contest, but there was a stretch in the third quarter where the Thunder really chipped away, and actually brought the deficit down to single digits, brought it down to 7 points. The lineup that was out there on the floor was Trey Mann, Lindy Waters III, Isaiah Joe, Mike Muscala, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah. Straight up snipers surrounding Shai. And yet it was the defensive end during that stretch that really allowed the Thunder to kind of chip away and bring the game to 7 points. Okay, that tangent aside.
But it's not just a tangent, it's a huge aspect of this because this doesn't work if those guys aren't playing strong defense, if they're not feisty, if they're not aggressive on the defensive glass the way that Isaiah Joe has been. So like that is, I know you caveated that, but it's more than a caveat.
It's a really big deal because the Thunder and Coach Dagnall really trusted those guys. You can't put them out on the floor, like you're saying, and not allow them and not have the trust in them for them to handle their business defensively. And so that was a really big positive sign for that group there. But going back to Isaiah, he has put together some really strong performances. You have to remember, he came into this organization late this season. He missed training camp. He didn't get a chance to do summer league with this team. And so he kind of was a step behind in terms of, the team learning him learning the team. And Coach Dagnall even mentioned, like, if he had been here at training camp, we probably would have gotten a few more cracks earlier because we would have learned about him a little sooner. But all the while, Isaiah just kept his head down. He kept doing what he was doing. He stayed ready. And every opportunity he has gotten so far, he's taken advantage of it and shown what he's capable of doing. He's made 2 or more threes in 50% of the games that he's played this season.
Yeah, 13 out of the last 19.
That is incredibly impressive for a guy who probably on everybody's scouting report, because you probably don't have a ton on Isaiah Joe, right? But the one thing you do have is shooter. So if there's any instruction about Isaiah Joe out there, it's don't let him shoot. And he's still finding his cracks and his opportunities.
One thing I wanted to ask you is he seems to continue to be getting these shots from like the left slot. And, I think of that as like the LeBron spot. LeBron always gets over to the left wing and he kind of messes around and then he gets to that. But Isaiah, he's getting a lot of those off the catch. He's sometimes taking a rhythm dribble if somebody comes flying out at him. But like, what is it about a shooter and just a very specific spot behind the arc? Because, you would think a corner would be more efficient, but for some reason that spot right there on the left slot is a huge spot for him. He seems to hit shots from there all the time.
It's so interesting because the top of the key is normally like, it's either like your best shot or your worst shot, like top of the key. So like the depth perception of that, right? Corners, similar thing. It's either your best or your worst shot. Those slots kind of are like the weird, like really, this is a good shot for me.
Right.
It's weird because like the angle of the backboard is kind of at a weird angle. And so, I don't know how to explain it.
You have a good view of the rim maybe because like the depth of the rim?
Maybe, but
because that glass behind you could maybe be offsetting, and then like the crowd behind you from the corners could maybe be put you off kilter. So.
And from the corner spots, definitely like that's where depth perception really plays a factor. But that wing spot right there, that was always a really comfortable shot for me to shoot as well. Because the other thing you have to remember is when you get those shots, it's normally either on a catch and shoot or it's off a screen down, a pin down. And so it's comfortable footwork when you're getting into it. And it's an easy 1-2. And it's part of your 5 spots. Like if you're shooting, you shoot 5 in the corner, 5 on the wing, 5 at the top of the key, 5 on the other wing, 5 in the other corner. So it's part of your like daily routine as a shooter. And so I could totally see that being a spot for Isaiah where it's like, all right, it's my comfort zone.
Well, he's shooting 45% from 3 above the break this season. And I don't have the exact numbers, but traditionally that's been like a shot in the mid 30s percentage wise in terms of like league wide over the last few years of what you're averaging on those above the break threes. So to be 10 percentage points or so above that is a massive, massive win. And you think about the spacing that creates for guys like Shai and Josh Giddey, who has been downhill and on top of the rim lately too. So having that shooting and spacing is a big deal.
The other thing about Isaiah, in addition to his shooting, and we kind of hinted at it with that run in Orlando, his defensive kind of feistiness is what allows him to be out there on the floor and why Coach Dagnall trusts him in a lot of these situations. If you just watch Isaiah out there, he is not giving anything up really defensively. He's typically undersized and typically the younger of the duo, but he is playing with some force, some feistiness. If you go up to the rim, he's going to try to meet you there. He's either going to try to take a charge or he's going to try to elevate and just contest as best as he can. And that feistiness is really impressive for a guy who has always been undersized at his position. And he told us, like, I have to predicate my game on my defense because if you can't trust me on the defensive end, then I can't be out there on the floor to do anything else, much less, go and get a three for you.
Yeah, and he's certainly brimming with confidence. And just as a transition before we let you all go, one of the reasons why he's able to play with such confidence is what's instilled to him by his teammates and particularly leaders on this team like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah. The NBA announced the first returns on All-Star voting today. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 4th among Western Conference guards in a really great spot. But that means Thunder fans, everybody, you've got to continue to keep voting for Shai. Please go to nba.com/vote. You're going to need that voter ID. Be aware of those 3-for-1 voting days because this is an incredible chance here over the next stretch to try to get Shai voted into the All-Star game. So he's doing great and a great sign for him, even if he doesn't make this fan vote, that people are recognizing the type of season he's put together. Yeah,
coming off a really impressive performance, 30-point performance against the Orlando Magic after missing the game before that with a non-COVID illness. Shai as consistent as ever. And if we look ahead to what's on tap, you'll see that the Thunder welcomes the Washington Wizards back into Paycom Center. And if you remember anything about the Thunder playing the Wizards this year, you might think of one Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a fun buzzer beater that he had in DC.
Big time game winner. And then the Thunder plays Dallas on Sunday. Another site down in Dallas of that miraculous 16-point comeback in the fourth quarter. Isaiah Joe, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played massive roles in that as well. And that's a nice little 2-game homestand. Caps 11 of 13 games at Paycom Center before OKC heads out on a 4-game Eastern Conference road swing.
That's right. And this Eastern Conference road swing, the stretch was a total of 10 of 11 games for the Thunder were going to be against Eastern Conference opponents. And so it's a little Eastern Conference heavy right now. And the Thunder going to head out on that 4-game road trip after taking on the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday. But until then, we want to thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up, and catch you later.